All right. So look, another good day of situational work. I thought we got something out of that. Some really good situations there in the 2-minute. Thought our guys competed today, which was good to see. Thought the defense bounced back a little bit in the 7-on-7 down there in the red area, so that was good to see those guys bounce back. I think our guys are competing at a high level, and so it's fun to see. We'll kind of turn our attention this afternoon a little bit to start getting ready for Houston. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Will Andy Dalton start the game, and have you worked?
Yeah, look. So I'm just going to say this about the players that will or won't play in the game. We discussed that last night as a staff. I haven't had a chance to visit with the players, so I'd really rather make sure that I get a chance to visit with the players before I divulge anything in terms of who's going to play or who's not going to play in the game.
Dennis, on that line though, do you philosophically have a?
We're going to stay on that line?
Well, yeah, like not specifics, but like, do you want to see guys play? I mean, do you feel like?
Yeah, I do, and yet, look, there's some guys that I feel like I got a pretty good idea, what I'm going to be getting. There's some really good competition in a couple of spots that we got to see some game action to evaluate, and so so will they play? There'll be a group of them there'll be a significant number that'll play, but there'll be some that won't see any or not a lot of action.
With no tackling at practice for running backs, is this like the first real game? I mean, certainly you can't tell if somebody can break a tackle when nobody's tackling them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not just running backs. The tackling part of the game. We've got to experience that defensively. We haven't tackled yet, so it'll be good to get out there and actually play a real live game and have some tackling going on. Anybody that possesses the ball has to understand that it's different when we're in a thud tempo than when we're tackling to the ground, and we got to make sure that we're protecting the football. So, and you don't really get to experience that until you actually go through it, and so that's the part of the game that we haven't seen yet.
Dennis, when it comes to running backs, is it easier to evaluate them if they play like an entire quarter and get in a groove, or is it better to see everybody with the first offensive line or whatever?
Well, it's kind of all relative a little bit. Typically, if you're in with the one offensive line, you're probably seeing the one defense. And as you get with the second or third offensive line, you're typically seeing the second or third defense. So I think it's kind of all relative. I do think that it's important to kind of allow guys to get in and get a few plays and kind of get in the groove a little bit rather than, subbing out every other play. So, we'll have a plan to work those guys and try to have a rotation where they're kind of getting in and getting a little bit of work and not really just in and out.
Now, Dennis, speaking of the running back position and obviously the first game, is that maybe the mindset you'll kind of know, you always keep them on a list like a Malcolm Brown, to give the more younger running backs the opportunity, like whether Zigbo or whether Abram Smith?
Well, yeah, look, certainly, we got some guys that we really need to see. I mean, you mentioned Zigbo and Abram Smith. Those are guys that we want to be able to see. We want to be able to see, Tony Jones get out there and carry the football. So yeah, I think that's a good competition that we got in that room, and we want to have an opportunity to kind of evaluate what those guys can do.
Dennis, I know last summer you guys had 4 quarterbacks in part because if Taysom was ever not going to be the starter, you wanted like a Trevor Siemian as a backup. Is it just the numbers game said 3 this year, or did you consciously want to make sure Ian Book got a lot more reps in Texas this summer?
Yeah, I think that was a lot of it. It's all a numbers game, and so I think that was part of the equation that we really wanted to have an opportunity to get that, because really the fourth quarterback doesn't get much work in camp, and so you're carrying the extra roster spot that we could use for a positional player. So You know, and then obviously, look, we signed KJ Costello to be the third quarterback in this game, and we'll see where he's at from a mental standpoint, you know, if he gets in the game or gets some reps.
And in turn, how much have you seen all the reps Ian Book is getting this summer compared to last summer help him grow and develop?
Well, look, I think I've definitely seen some improvement. He's still, you know, he's got a ways to go, but I've seen some improvement just in terms of understanding the offense, being able to get in and out of the huddle, like simple things that you don't really think of. I think he's much improved in that area. I think he's more confident with what he's doing. You know, I think one of his skill sets that I really like is his ability to kind of go off schedule a little bit. I think that's at times when I've seen him kind of be at his best. So I see him getting some significant action in this preseason game.
It seems like you guys have looked at it.
I have one right here real quick.
Trevor having to learn where the line is as far as his competitiveness, not just Saturday, but these next 5 things y'all are going to do out of town.
Yeah.
Is that important?
Look,
because it's not his teammates.
So I would say this. I would say yes, it's important, but I would also say that I think it's getting way more attention outside of our building than it probably needs. You know, I see a guy that plays hard, extremely hard on every single play. Are there some times where we got to pull back the reins a little bit? Yeah. But I wouldn't classify that any differently than anybody else. He just plays hard and he plays from snap to whistle, and that's what you want him to do. So I kind of like it.
It seems like you guys have taken a look at a handful of guys from the USFL. How has that maybe changed scouting, or does that help put guys on the radar or anything like that?
Well, I think one of the things it does is because these guys just finished playing a season, they're in shape and kind of football shape and ready to go. And I think that's one of the important things that you have to see when you bring guys in for a workout. The first thing you're looking for is a guy that's going to be available. Because typically you're bringing guys in more often than not because of some sort of an injury where you have some depth needs at a position. And so having those guys be in shape and ready to play is I think it's a big deal. But you also get, like, that was, I mean, you see them in the spring and they're playing real football. It's a good evaluation.
Coach, beyond the game plan who's playing, for you personally, are there any kind of like pre-game rituals or anything that might just change for you before the first preseason game now that you're the head coach?
I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, there's responsibilities that change. I don't know about rituals. I'm just going out there to coach a football game.
What have you seen in C.J. Gardner-Johnson? You mentioned the goal line 7-on-7. He made a couple of plays in that. What have you seen from him in the last week?
Yeah, I've seen him make some plays. I've seen him look like, you know, Ducey. And so that's been good to see. I mean, look, we love the player. He's been a big part of what we've been able to accomplish defensively here. Excited about watching him out there compete. Like, that's the one thing you know about that player is he's going to come out, and when he's between the lines, he's competing. And that's what we love about him.
Is Alontae Taylor dealing with anything serious?
I don't think it's anything serious, but yes, he's dealing with a hip flexor or something like that.
How important is the veteran leadership, especially for guys who aren't going to be playing, just as far as their impact on the sideline?
Well, the best teams I've been a part of, you know, is when the locker room kind of takes over. And so, yeah, it's important for these vets. And look, these preseason games are important for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And the role that some of these vets play, you know, whenever it's time for them not to be participating in the game, on the sideline, helping these young guys be in their eyes a little bit, telling them what they see, I think that's important.
Des, we don't ask you about the fullback a lot, but what have been your impressions of Adam Prentice so far?
Well, I think he's had a good last couple of days, and so that's been pleasing to see. I think there's some competition there. J.P. Holtz is another guy that we've lined up in that position. So, you know, I think these games will kind of start to sort some of this stuff out.
Dennis, you talked about the importance of
Saturday in preseason games, how important is winning, or is it?
Well, I think winning's always important, you know, and so we're going to this game to try to win the game. You know, and preseason is a little bit unique because there's an evaluation process that's going on, and so you're going to be playing some players that, you know, you're trying to get a look at. So it's kind of a little bit of a fine line, but at the same time, that's what our business is. Our business is winning, and so yeah, we're gonna try to win. Now, some of the decisions that we make on how we play the game may change because we might try to get an evaluation of something. So it's unique, but I do think winning's important.
And Dennis, you think it's a coincidence when you look at Harbaugh and Coach Harbaugh and the Ravens winning 20 straight?
It's a lot.
Season.
It's a lot.
Yeah, 20
I think I took part in a few of those. So, yeah, look, I mean, you know, I think John does a great job, and I think they've got a heck of an organization over there, and certainly you've seen the wins in preseason. They've translated over into what they've been able to do in the regular season.
DA, on the wide receiver cornerback one-on-ones, like from a defensive perspective, what are you guys looking for there? And like, when are the times when maybe it's just too unrealistic to place value in some of those routes?
Well, look, we're looking at, number one, competitiveness. All right, we're looking at guys transitioning in and out. We're looking at who can make a play. Look, there's two sets of one-on-ones that really kind of go on throughout the course of training camp. You have your wide receivers and DB one-on-ones, which is a little bit skewed towards the offense because it's just a single route. The quarterback knows where he's going with the ball. He's not having to read any defenses. So it's just, you know, the receiver versus the defensive back, and they've got the whole field really to work with. So it's a little bit slanted in that direction. But yet we're looking for fundamentals and technique. And then when you go to the other side with the D-line and the offensive line, it's a little bit slanted towards the defense because the defense doesn't have to worry about any form of a run or anything like that. They're just getting off on the snap and rushing the passer. So, but again, we're looking for competitiveness, fundamentals, technique, those types of things.
Coach, you spoke a little bit about Kirk Merritt's development since OTAs. What have you seen from Dejon Dixon in that department as well?
Yeah, look, undrafted rookie free agent that's come in and kind of caught my eye just a little bit. I like his size. I think he does for a bigger receiver. I think he transitions really well, and he's, you know, he's been pretty good mentally. So those are good qualities to have.
Staying with Kirk and Dejon, really even just in that receiver room, but on the whole roster, just having a lot of guys from Louisiana, from the area, does that help in any way?
It helps if they're good players. I mean, it's cool, right? It's cool. They're from Louisiana. Everybody's got some familiarity with them, but at the end of the day, like, you got to be able to play. So that's really what we're like. You know, I love Louisiana, I love New Orleans, but it's really all about getting guys here that can play. And fortunately for us, there's a lot of guys in this state that can play football, so that's kind of cool. All good? All right, thanks.